Good game, Dr. J.
Ah, the sweet taste of victory makes the struggle to achieve it all worth it. And even if that delicious sucker is fleeting, the bitter taste of defeat that follows ultimately teaches us new lessons. Testing out a new and improved roster in preparation for an upcoming War of the Lions tournament has most recently shown us that there are still options to explore that will secure our position at the top of the winner's bracket. In today's episode, we will review live matches versus 2 opponents, concentrating on the changes we made since the last playtest and where we are seeing results. Hi, I'm Mikey from Tactics Live Tournament, back again with another analysis video, looking at the performance of our tournament-ready roster. In a previous episode, we gleaned important lessons from a resounding defeat. Once again, we will take a high-level view of the previous matches and give you an overview of our successes that gave us our first victory, and issues that led us to another defeat. Then, we will go through each unit in our roster to further streamline, enhance, or improve them any way we can, before sending them off to battle monsters to test our newest changes. Looking at our latest playtest from a high-level perspective, we're clearly progressing with our unit choices and strategy, now that we have a win under our belt. This win can be attributed to a couple factors: a small map to increase pressure in AoE spells value, and, simply put, we got pretty lucky. We will cover individual units' performances later, but overall it seems we had a solid composition and we played to each unit's strengths. Taking ourselves down a peg, let's look at how we came away with a defeat in our second match of the night. The map's height differences taught us the value of keeping our troops together, and for targeting enemies as well. We also did not have any tools to concentrate our offensive efforts onto single foes, and this came into play with our opponent's Bard healing up his allies frequently, removing all the disparate damage we had spread around. For our general's performances, we'll start with Reyes. The moments she did have to contribute to our fight were nothing to really write home about. A couple uses of Sanguine Sword or Unholy Sacrifice seemed to be enough to deliver value, despite her speed being reduced to pitiful amounts. Delita did not shine on this map, the height differences being the biggest hurdle to overcome. His Holy Sword failed to proc when needed, and his crushing blows did not move the needle for our damage dealing. He did, however, perform spectacularly as a tank, absorbing massive damage at the end of the fight. Let's start our troops analysis with Rico, a new addition to our roster. Our Dragoon found himself with plenty of opportunities to get the jump on opponents, and his use of items in the first game was critical. Without another ally to support his offensive efforts, Rico was left on his own to breach enemy defenses to no avail. The next newcomer, Bart, our Squire, was as peculiar to use as predicted. He was definitely a squishy target, and usually the first to fall in the squad. When he did manage to tactically switch his outfit to suit the fight, the results turned out fairly well. Throw and dual wield did not see much use, so we will need to tweak these to optimize our Squire further. Moving on to an original troop who underwent a bit of a makeover, Elheim the Time Mage with White Magics did her job exactly as described for the first fight, with plenty of Heisha applied throughout the battle. In the second match, she had to contend with a split-up party and could not get meaningful casts off. Her lack of defense ultimately led to her demise. Our top performer from last episode, Emeralda, again was our MVP, especially in our first match where she lucked out with not one toad effect, but 2 toads from a single geomancy attack. Without this incredible chance happening, the match would have gone much differently. In our second fight, her lack of raw power came back to haunt her, and a well-placed charm put our best damage dealer against us. Alright, so that wasn't too bad, but it wasn't too great either. Let's formulate some key takeaways to serve us better moving forward and increase our chances of getting more than one victory. 1. Use the map to your advantage. Our toad debuffs came from standing in water, for instance. Having our troops on the roof separate from their friends meant we missed opportunities to support each other. 2. Stick together. While you don't have to move as a cohesive blob, getting your allies to watch each other's backs gives you security to perform your strategy. Keeping your troops spread out increases the chances of them getting singled out or isolated. 3. Commit to the role. We succeeded when we used our troops as designed, and fell short when we overextended ourselves. We need to keep our healers healing, our bruisers bruising, and our wildcards need to keep our opponents guessing. Now, we're definitely far from being optimized and tournament ready. We have some lessons to learn from, as well as a positive handful of lessons to keep us motivated. Let's take all these with a fresh set of eyes and expectations as we rebuild our roster. Unfortunately, we did not get a chance to test out Mustadio, so we will leave him where he is for now. We will be looking at him in particular in upcoming episodes. Now with Delita, we had trouble getting him started in the early game, with him lacking movement to get him into the fight. We've kept him as a Dark Knight, trading his Holy Sword for Summit, so we can get a quick 700 HP Golem cast, thanks to Swiftness. Soulbind has been put in for some deterrence, and Move +2 to increase pressure on our opponents. His Diamond Sword has been replaced with an Ancient Sword, which gives us initial Protect and Shell, and a chance to immobilize our target in melee. Lastly, our Crystal Shield has changed to a Venetian Shield for elemental resistance. Reyes continues to do well, but one area we are not seeing a lot of use in is Dance. And that's because Darkness is really good in a lot of situations. So we're going to try something new by leaning into Mincing Minuet with performing arts instead of Safeguard. Since the latest PvP patch has increased the damage you receive from Unholy Sacrifice, we're going to pop on Life Font to increase the per turn healing we receive. With varying degrees of success from our troops, we can expect some changes here and there to further optimize their performance. Let's begin with Bart, who I am thinking could use items and throw items instead of the ninja throw. I did not find throw to be impactful, but a well-timed elixir can change the flow of battle completely, especially with a nimble character like our Squire here. I added reflexes to aid evasion and removed first strike, changed out Move +2 for fly, which already grants +1 move and jump, in addition to clearing all obstacles. We threw on Flame Shield for helping evade those early game attacks, and an Air Knife for one more point of speed, which can be switched later for specific situations. Next, we have Rico, who didn't feel optimized with items, since we really wanted him as a tanky bruiser, not support. To enable this, we opted to replace items with fundaments, utilizing focus in his early turns to boost his speed up to 13 and increase his PA while we're at it. We've thrown on Grand Armor this time to supplement Life Font and given him Angel Ring for innate re-raise. Though he has less debuff protection, the hope is he is up in the air most of the game. Now let's look at Emeralda, who we're aiming to bring some power back to. Being a backline caster means she should be staying far away from danger, which we tend to forget when we want to get in close with Yido. We've given her Rune Blade and Brass Coronet to boost that MA again, and Aegis Shield will help her out there too. White Robe now makes an appearance for Innate Protect, and Septieme is worn for the small boost to speed and MA. Teleport has been changed to Mana Font, so we can keep her now bulky MP levels high. Elheim has gone through a small amount of changes. We've changed her equipment to benefit a faster caster, putting in Panther Skin Bag for Innate Protect and Shell, Brass Coronet for huge MP gains, Luminous Robe to address our faith issue, and Brigand's Gloves to give her a much needed speed boost to keep her in the fight. For her abilities, we've simply swapped out Arcane Defense for Defense Boost, so we have better chances of survival against melee attacks. Nice! Now this is starting to feel streamlined and purpose-driven. Let's head out into the untamed wilderness and test these updates against a pack of ferocious beasts. After testing in a few random battles against monsters, we have some preliminary data on our new roster. Mustadio's steadfast ring is starting to show some limitations, as he is unable to be targeted by ally buffs. Otherwise, his performance as a disruptor hasn't really changed. Getting an early Golem cast with Delita was not as predictable as hoped, and coupled with a small MP pool means we get one shot at getting it applied, lest we lean on Infernal Strike for filling MP reserves. Reyes gets a small buff to her Mincing Minuet, which continues to perform well with frequent punishment in a wide area. She is the one to watch in upcoming live matches. Bart is seeing an improvement in this iteration, and switching to main Gauche for added evasion for an opening action validated our substitution for reflexes. One lesson we learned with this is to move first with main Gauche, then switch to your other weapon of choice. Next up we have Rico, who continued to dominate the mid to late game with powerful melee and jump attacks. Having Focus as an opening move gets his speed to that coveted 13 and gives a small PA boost. It also serves as a fallback action in case other options are unavailable. Emeralda got the boost she needed to see her Geomancy and offensive Yido shine. Speaking of which, we opted to try Masamune as an opener since almost all of our troops have innate Protect and Shell, and the regen for Masamune will alleviate some of the pressure to heal troops. And finally we look at Elheim, who was able to get Heisha cast on our team despite the reflect applied from Masamune. Where she did struggle was in the mid game, where we could benefit from buffs, but were now unable to receive them, and enemies were too far to debuff. And that's a wrap for today's analysis. The goal of these videos is to provide you with insight into the mechanics of the Tactics League PvP mod, and encourage you to try out combinations of your own against friends. Let me know in the comments what lessons you took away from the experiences you saw, and leave your suggestions for ways I could improve. I need all the help I can get. If you haven't yet, check out TacticsLeague.com, a community dedicated to competitive War of the Lions PvP, and tactics multiplayer in general. Thanks to the Tactics League Discord, I was able to coordinate the matches you watched earlier, and you can join us today via the links in the description. And one last thing before you go, be a pal and throw out a like to this video to help the channel grow and reach a wider audience. Subscribing to the channel is also a great way to support the effort of bringing this amazing game's multiplayer features to a wider audience, and thanks to Tactics League moderator YoshnJa and this incredible PvP mod, we can broadcast our first tournament as a real esports event. I've been looking forward to that day for a long time, and I am so glad to have you along for the journey. This is Mikey from Tactics Live Tournament, signing off. I will see you in the next video. And until then, be well everyone.